Hi guys, you're welcome to Delaware Studios. This is another Android programming tutorial where I'll be talking about the material design or customized color theme. This is going to be the second part of this tutorial, which I've actually created earlier. And in this part, we're going to actually make SharedPreference save data persistently, even after closing up or destroying the activity. You're still going to have the data saved. Thereby, we're going to have a coherent theme after setting these up the first time. I'm going to make this tutorial quite followable, basically for viewers that will be looking at or watching at this video for the first time, so that they're actually going to know what we're talking about. So I'm actually going to explain the structure of the application and point out where we need to declare the shared preference persistent storage state. Without much ado, I'll be moving straight to Android Studio, whereby we'll be getting our hands dirty, and let's dive into code. If you're not familiar with how to create a navigation drawer in Android, this is a recap. Firstly, you need to create a menu folder whereby you have to declare the different items that you'll be using with their title. And we actually use the vector assets to create different icons, for the photo library, the camera, the slideshow, the build, and the share, and also the send icon. You can actually do that from the drawable, whereby you right click on the drawable and you call on new vector assets. You call those assets in. Afterwards, you have that set up. We also have animation, which is for the drawer. Pull in left. These are translate and they deals with the interpolator. We have to pull in right. We have to pull out left and to push out right. That's actually handling the drawer swipe. Right there in the menu, you need the nav drawer to actually set the settings. You may actually use this or not, but the major focus is to use the main drawer, which houses the items with their icons and title. Right there in the layout, we have different layouts. Firstly, we use some activities here: the file import, the gallery, the main activity is like the home, and we have the settings and the slideshow. These are all different activities that were used right there in the drawer. The main activity, which is the activity main, is actually the launcher UI, and you always declare the navigation view using the widget tag, the Android support design widget navigation view. You can actually set the menu over here, right there, calling the menu the activity main drawer. They actually brought up these to play, and we also include the app bar main. We're actually going to be looking all these right there. The app bar main right here actually houses the main content of the particular activity, which includes the layout, the content main, that populates a mere text called navigation drawer full demo. That is actually coherent to other activities, to the file import, the same flow. You declare the navigation view as well. You call on the menu activity main drawer, and you call the content this time, which is the ARBA file import, which is just in sync with the ARBA main. That's just the flow of how the structure of this application is. That's the UI. I mean, the nav header, is when you declare the header for the drawer, and you have it as an icon, and also the text view, which can actually be probably the trade name or the brand name of the particular icon. You set it using an image view and the text view. Cool. If you need more details on how to create the navigation drawer, I'm going to be leaving different links right there in the description of this video, whereby you can lay your hands on and you can actually read more on that. We'll be moving further. Before we continue, we actually use a library called the material color picker, which actually enables us to select different colors, and it gives us a graphic user interface to actually play around with color, and we use shared preferences to hold on to the value of those colors and make the necessary settings to actually make a theme customizing, whereby you change your theme with different colors that were picked from the color picker library. We'll be heading straight to the Java class to actually let us see how we make that happen. We actually did that right there in the settings activity. Over to the settings activity, we have the onCreate, which is just as normal any onCreate method, and we declared several fields here: the shared preferences, the shared preferences editor. We have two shared preferences objects here. The shared preferences and the app preferences were used in different aspects. We have for the button, and we have a method class that which was also referenced. We get to look at how each one of them were referenced, and initially we don't have the app preference called this way. Let me just comment this out so that we can actually know where we actually made changes from. That's cool. Let's quickly look at the methods. The methods class. This actually handles the color theme, whereby we set the constant, the color, and we checked on the different. We use case to actually test on different color that we might have from the master color picker. We have the red, the pink, the dark pink, violet, blue, sky blue, green, and so on. So it depends on the color code. If it matches, it's going to pick its appropriate theme. So that's what this helper class is actually doing. Back to the settings activity. Fine, we set the content view to the layout activity settings, which is actually a bare activity UI. Cool. We initialize the toolbar and we set the background color to the constant color. Fine. We'll be using constant here, whereby we actually have a default color, instead of just making our app crash without with null pointer, or probably you've not set the data, you've not set the shared preference on launch. So that should be a default color that or a default theme that the application will use if all these data have not been set or have not been actually declared. So that's why we need a constant for the color, and for the theme it's actually going to pick the default app theme. That sets that. Now we created we instantiate the methods, and we instantiate the button. We also instantiate shared preferences, where we get the default shared preference. This is very important. Use the preference manager, get the default shared preference to actually work with integer values, to work with string, and to work with other data types. That's the recommended approach. And now we call the shared preferences edit, because we actually want to put in some values right into the shared preferences. That's why we call that. We trigger the button once you click on the settings. The button is a spherical, it's sphere in nature. Once you click on it, it triggers the color chooser. It calls on the chooser dialog to select desired color from the dialog. So that's just the set click listener to the button. And on click of the button, we actually instantiate the color chooser dialog, and we set the title to the dialog, which is actually select, or you can decide to put anything you like, the select color also. And we instantiate the new color listener. This is a library now at work. I think we understand how to include libraries into Android via dependencies, and we can also include it manually, whereby you declare the path of the library right there in the dependency. That's the two forms of including a jar file right inside your application. Right there in the on-click, we set the constant color. Now we're changing up the color based on the picked color from the view. Now we set that to the constant color. Definitely at this point in time, the color would have changed based on what you've selected. This time you can easily call the method class to set the color theme. We've initialized it earlier, whereby now we are now calling the method set color theme. At this point, it's not going to be null, because you've actually picked the color, and you've been able to set the color. Now you can easily call the method to set the color. So it's actually going to compare which color you pick, and it's going to set the theme appropriately. That's one of back to settings activity. Fine. At this point, you put in the color value, as into the editor, so that you're going to do this using shared preferences to save data now, so that it's actually going to be persistent across all activity. And even once you close up the application, or you kill or you destroy the activity, you're still going to have it. You only lose it when you uninstall the application. Now we put the color, we need a color, and we need a theme, that was selected based on the color, and we commit the editor. With that, we have that saved into shared preference. Cool. At this point, you need to push call an intent to push to another activity. Once you've done that, you've been able to fix the color. You'll be able to select the color and call the appropriate theme. Is actually going to push you down to the main activity. That's the essence of that intent. So that close the dialog shows up, and this is the dialog that actually sets the color. Cool. But now the problem arises when you set this color. It's fine to work across all activity that were declared, but on close of the application or on kill of the activity, you lose the shared preference data. So this is how you go about it. Let's take a rundown of other activities that we use right there in this application for viewers that are watching this for the first time, so that they will understand what we're actually doing. We have the main activity, just like any other way of declaring a drawer layout activity. Firstly, you have your normal onCreate method, whereby we set the content view, we initialize the toolbar, we call the action drawable toggle to open navigation, to close navigation, drawer. I will implore you to look deeper into how to actually create a navigation drawer layout. It's quite straightforward. Now we also call the navigation view ID, and we set the navigation item selected listener to that. The cool aspect of navigation drawer is you have the on navigation item selected. This is when you actually call on each ID of the view of the menu item now, whereby you call its appropriate class to actually push the intent. So a click on each menu right there in the drawer, it calls the corresponding class, which is the first one calls the gallery, the second calls the file import, the slideshow, the settings activity. So that's just how that flow. And the same thing applies to other classes that were created. The gallery, just the same look and feel, the same flow with the main activity. We also have for file import, the same flow with the main activity. And we have also for the slideshow. These are the classes that we actually made emphasis on. The same flow with the main activity. You just need to change the appropriate intent push. Which intent class are you calling on click of the menu. And we also included the animation, so that we're going to have a drawer-like effect when you pull to right and you push out to left. That's why we override the pending transaction and we set out the animation parameters into that method. Cool. And let's get back to the main activity. The problem now lies is that when you set the color, you have it declared, and it's worked. It's actually going to change the app name, to the color that was selected. But after killing the application or after closing up the application, you can't have those data saved persistently. Now we need to fall back to shared preference. That's where shared preference comes in. That's why I comment out some portions of the application. Let me uncomment it so that we'll be able to understand the fix. We need to declare shared preferences, app preference as the object, and we declare 3 integers: the app name, the theme color, and the app color itself. We'll see how we're going to be using all this right there in the onCreate method. Now we call the preference manager get default shared preferences. Very important for integer values. Instantiate the shared preference this way, you're going to have those values correctly. And now the first integer value we need to get is the color, because right there in the settings, back to the settings, we were able to put in the color, our key, and its value. This is key value. If you are dealing with shared preferences, is just the state of saving the key value pairs of probably string values, integers, double, float. So this is a key, and this is the value of the key. Right there in the main activity, we are getting the integer now, which has the key of color, and this value can be a default value. In case probably what you're getting is null, you're going to actually have a default value, because you can, for you to test a null value, you can't test a null value directly on an integer data type. You have to have a kind of fixed integer value for you to be able to test if you're actually getting the right integer or not. So we're passing a 0 for debug purpose, and if there is a data, or if there is an integer value, this 0 will be overridden, and you're going to have the right value. So that is not actually disturbing. The second aspect is the theme. We also need to get the integer, the value for the theme. So that's why we get the int, we call the key the theme, and we pass the value 0. Cool. Now we set the theme color integer that was created to the app color, so that we're going to actually, we've passed in the value of the app color to the variable theme color. Perfect. Right there in the constant color now, since we have a value for the app color, we need to change the constant color, because the constant color is the color that actually works around the application, but now we need to change it based on the value of the shared preference. So that's why we're setting the app color to the constant color. Cool. But that's not all. You also need to do an if-else statement, or else there's going to be a lot of bottleneck when you are launching the application for the first time, or when you're relaunching. You won't have a persistent flow right there in the theme. So that's why we came up with an if-else statement. The first if is if the theme color is equals to 0, probably we're getting no data, we're getting no value, or you've not set the shared preference at the point in time, or you've not set any settings. You've just right there in the default, or you've just launched the application. Definitely is going to be null. So we have it as 0. If it's 0, it's actually going to set the theme to the constant theme, which is the default theme, fine. And as well, if the app theme, probably you've not set the theme as well, we have two aspects, the color and the theme. You've not set the app theme, and the app theme is value 0, which is the default value passed in here. It's actually going to set the theme to the constant, which is to the default theme that you actually declared over here, right there in the constant here. The theme, this theme is actually going to set it to that. Else, probably you have values right there in the app color. You have values right there in the app theme. You're going to set the theme to the value of the app theme, because after settings over here, once you've set the color theme right there, once you've gone through here, definitely there will be a value put into the theme, which is be identified from the key called theme. So that's the constant theme, So definitely it's going to be quite different from the default constant theme. So that's where you got to pick it from. Now we set the theme to the app theme. Cool. With that, we fixed the error. It's going to have a persistent save of data, and on relaunch, you're still going to maintain the settings color that you've actually set right there in the settings activity. So for you to make this coherent, or to flow around all activities that you have right there in your application, because once you declare shared preference, you will have the ability to call on it in different activities. It's not limited to the main activity. You can call on it in another activity. Shared preference is persistent right there in the lifecycle of your application, not of one activity. So with this, you just need to replicate what you have here right there in the onCreate to other activities. Cool. So let me uncomment this so that we have that triggered. And the same thing goes for the slideshow, just replicate, in the launch of the application, because you actually need to add fast running snippets into your own create. Avoid running long threads right there in your own create, because once you launch an application, the theme sets up immediately. So you need it to be triggered right there in your own create so that you don't have a lag. Because once there's a lag, it's going to fall to the default theme that it has right there in the manifest or right there declared in the constants. So you just have to trigger that immediately right there in the own create. So that gives us rise to that. Even in the settings, so that you are going to have a persistent settings flow too, so that the settings activity won't be excluded from the juicy aspect. We have for the file import, I think I have that set. Just replicate the snippet right there, and you declare the fields as well. Okay, I have that set over here, and you're good to go. So with that, you're going to have a persistent data flow of shared preference across all activities, and you will be able to have that the color state reinstated even on crash of the application, on close of the application, or even on destroy of the application, or if you decide to unless you uninstall. Once you uninstall, you've lost your shared preference data set. So that's cool. So with this, I'll launch and I'll show you on how this actually works right there. And it's actually perfect. It's been tested several times and it's working perfectly. So I've been able to answer that major questions here and there. That's when we like it to fix the material custom color theme right there. I'm sorry that it's coming a little bit late. I've been right tight up with a lot of activities, a lot of work to do, a lot of projects to handle. So I actually put it to myself to actually get this done and push it down to my team and fans. It's just for you right there to actually support all Android programmers out there. And we implore you to stick by with the Lares Studios. Don't go anywhere. Stick by. I will be uploading the source code to the GitHub so that you'll be able to touch it up from there and even understand better from source. That's fine. Catch me up in my next tutorial, and please don't go anywhere. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and leave comments where you think I need to actually address or I need to actually improve more. Thank you very much. Have a blessed time.